Hello and welcome to my weekly video blog, and today on A Vogel Talks Menopause I'm going to be talking about what we should eat for breakfast to help us through our menopausal day. If you like my tips and advice, then please subscribe and remember to hit the bell icon so you can be notified of all my new videos. Most of us are really busy, and sometimes finding time for breakfast is way down our list of priorities. It can be a rushed meal. We can end up picking things on the go. We can end up eating a poor choice of food. And all of these can affect the way we feel for the rest of the day. So it's really important that we pick the right foods for breakfast. So what I'm going to do today is explain how certain foods can help you and also to give you a few suggestions. Now, 6 reasons why you shouldn't skip breakfast. Because let's face it, if we don't have time, we're not going to eat well. So making just a little bit of extra time for breakfast can make a huge difference. So number 1, there's a clue in the word. We are breaking our fast because we've had nothing to eat all night. Our blood sugars can be very low in the morning, and we know that low blood sugars in the menopause can trigger a whole raft of symptoms such as headaches, dizziness, foggy brain, even palpitations. So it's really important to get a good breakfast in to keep our blood sugars as stable as possible for as long as possible. Also, if we don't eat a lot for breakfast, our body has got no energy and it will need to slow down our metabolism to cope with that. So sometimes skipping breakfast will contribute to weight gain. Number 2 is, get the right energy foods into you to help you to stay active. It's a bit like going in a car journey. If you were going on a long car journey, you wouldn't think of leaving home without filling up the tank, without checking the oil, and without checking the water. So it's the same for us and our bodies. They are going through a long journey every single day during the menopause. So keeping our bodies well fueled and oiled in water can make a lot of difference. If you have a good nutritional breakfast, or number 3, you are less likely to crave sugar and also overeat. If your blood sugars are low, your body gets into a panic mode and you will crave something that's going to raise your blood sugar levels up really quickly. And this always tends to be sweet foods or fatty foods. So if you don't eat anything for breakfast, or you eat the wrong things for breakfast, you are going to be more likely to snack and crave and have less healthy choices in what you're eating for the rest of the day. Number 4 is they've actually found in studies that eating a good healthy breakfast is associated with a lower incidences of heart disease. And this is really important because heart disease, or your likelihood of getting heart disease, seems to increase post-menopause. So anything that we can do to protect our hearts is a really good idea. If we eat well for breakfast, this is going to feed our brain. It's going to help with our concentration. It's going to help to provide us with good brain function during the day. And number 6, we're more likely to drink when we eat, although I will say that it's really important not to drink too much when you eat because you end up diluting your digestive juices. But if you have the mindset to eat for breakfast, then you're more than likely to have something to drink. So maybe about 30 minutes before you sit down to have your breakfast, have a good drink of plain water, and that sets you up as being hydrated right at the start of the day. And again, that can help with all sorts of menopause symptoms. So what do you need for breakfast? You're thinking of protein, fiber, and a little bit of fat. Protein is going to jumpstart your metabolism. Your fibre is going to keep you fuller for longer, so you're going to be less likely to feel hungry and snack before your next meal. And the fat itself is going to stabilise your blood sugar levels. So a few things you could look at is oatmeal for breakfast, but please make sure that it's whole oats or actually porridge oats. These quick oats where you just pour boiling water on, they will shoot your blood sugars up and you'll end up crashing very quickly. And a lot of them are full of sugar. So what to do is make proper porridge, and you can then add in some berries, you can add in some nuts and seeds, or just maybe a few pieces of dried fruit. I often add a little teaspoon of cocoa fat if I'm making porridge, again, because I find that that helps to sustain me that little bit longer during the day. You could look at Greek yogurt, make sure it's the full fat to give you that fat to keep your blood sugars stable. Again, you can add berries. Very often what I do if I'm having yogurt for breakfast, I'll grind up some sunflower seeds and sesame seeds and pumpkin seeds. I'll have my little bit of cocoa powder in there as well, so I can have a nice chocolatey yogurt for breakfast. And I tend to add maybe some blueberries or some raspberries or some strawberries. You can look at homemade granola. Be really careful of shop-bought granola because it's extremely high in sugar, and a lot of them have an awful lot of fat in them as well. Our nutritionist Emma has a super recipe for homemade apricot granola, and that is a really good way, again, to start off the day. You can either add yogurt into it or a little bit of milk or a little bit of almond milk or oat milk or coconut milk to it, just to give it that little bit extra bit of a boost. You can look at eggs. This tends to be my stable breakfast. I love eggs first thing. I'll very often have an omelette. I'll maybe saute some mushrooms or asparagus or some red onions, have the omelette, and then I'll top it with things like tomatoes or a little bit of crumble of feta cheese on the top. And it's great too if you have a little bit of veg left over from the night before, you can add that into your omelette. And I find having a good omelette for breakfast will keep me going right up until lunchtime, and it's really helpful, especially if I have a busy day and I can't stop for snacks. I know that I'm not going to get overly hungry. You can also look at protein powders for those of you who are really rushed during the day, or you're not particularly keen on having too much to eat first thing, but you realize that you need something. Then you can get really good plant-based protein powders, and you can have a shake first thing before you do anything else. And very often that will keep you going too. Foods to avoid. Obviously, those box and packets cereals, they are full of sugar. They get broken down really quickly. They'll give you a huge blood sugar hit, and then about an hour or two later, you will crash and you will be really, really hungry. These types of cereals really have no nutritional value at all, so they really should be avoided. Again, avoid white bread. If you must have a piece of toast, then go for wholemeal bread or rye bread or one of the sort of fermented breads that can be really nice. And again, they can give you quite a good nutritional lift. Obviously, avoid things like pastries, croissants, muffins, sweet yogurts, because again they're absolutely full of sugar, and there's very little else in there, and they're not going to give you much of a nutritional boost. And obviously the shop bought smoothies, because again they tend to be full of sugar and are not really going to help. And please don't rely on coffee as a lift first thing in the morning, because that will shoot your blood sugars all over the place. And a quick cup of coffee first thing before eating can trigger things like palpitations, headaches, flushes, and also muscle aches, and it can give you brain fog. So save your coffee for maybe mid-morning rather than first thing in the morning. So I hope you found this one helpful. As I say, for me, breakfast is the most important meal for me in the day, because I just can't survive if I don't eat properly first thing. If any of you have any more tips, what's your favourite breakfast? What do you find really helps to keep you going during the day? We would love to hear about it. And until then, I'll see you next week for another edition of A. Vogel Talks Menopause.